This is Python Poker, and today we're going to share an update video. It's been about 2 weeks since the last video, and we try to post video every 2 to 3 weeks or so, just to give an update of where we are in this process and give our current thoughts and next steps. So as you can see here, this is a bankroll graph starting out from when we started this little journey here in November and up until now in July of 2026 here. So as you can see, this first part, of course, was the 2NL main volume here, and then we got into this later portion is the 10NL Ante game and the 20 NL effective game, which is basically the 20 NL effective, which means that it's the 10 NL Ante straddle game. So the straddle, of course, is the 2 BB straddle, and it plays like a 20 NL effective game. So we started shot taking this game a few times. Unfortunately, currently we are having to move down. So our bankroll is not at a point where we like to experiment with that shot take. So as you can see, there was a dip here where we had to go back down in the stakes and regrind. So that this peak was like 1200 or so. This is when we started the shot take again. Fortunately, this is not just variance. This is some deviations in like our A game and punts and that kind of stuff. So we had to go back down to the 10L ante game again. So just to recalibrate the system, most of the errors in the punts were deviations from like A game play or the system that we were trying to cultivate. So given that and the bankroll dipped a little bit, we're just gonna move back down and refocus and try to eliminate some of these mistakes. So when we get to the higher stakes in the future, the 40NL game and the 100NL eventually, we get all these mistakes out here, and at least we're identifying them and noting them, so we can try to see them, the pattern that shows up in the future. We can identify, oh yeah, this is something similar. Just take a pause and just work on our system and our filtering to help the decisions when we make those. So that's where we are now. We're about here. So once we get around to our peak bankroll, and not only that, once we have more consistent A game play, we'll shot take again, and if we have to do it again, we'll have to do it again, and eventually it'll stick and land the shot take. And but for now, it's good to identify some of these leaks and these errors, and iterate through the system to see if we can avoid these spots through better questions and better frameworks, just to help with those snap judgment calls. But for the most part, they're just snap judgment punts, those kind of things. So that's an update on that. So we'll do that probably for the next 2 weeks or so until we regrind and get that bankroll back where we need to have it. But that's the update. Long story short, I had to move back down, but you can see here in this bankroll, we're kind of break even from this whole period. It's about from here, it's like 2 months or so, break even play, up down swings. But the good thing is we're not worried about like the total in the dollar amount. We're more worried on the decision and clarity for the most part. So again, good to identify these things, and so it's good to know the errors. So instead of not knowing, but now it's just execution. So we'll play a few hands or so. Do a play and explain here, a couple tables going, and we'll table select. So this is a wide player, so we'll just sit beside them. And to get 4 tables going. In previous YouTube videos, we've done like a 1 table in the last couple of videos, but we'll do a 4 table now. So we'll get lots of decision points and lots of opportunities to talk through spots. And see if we can get some tables. There's lots of tables going tonight, so get some interesting spots here. And get some, so just give me a moment here while we can tile this. As you can see, I'm selecting my seat and looking at the stats before I find a spot to sit at. 74.3, that's definitely going to be my spot. I don't even have to look at the other spots. I just need to take this seat before someone takes it. And then we'll look at some of the decision points. I'm going to just get these tables tiled up. And this is like a real-time selecting some tables here and giving you that process. But we're going to get these tables lined up for the viewing pleasure. And then we'll go through some more in-depth thought process. But we're just going to kind of autopilot while I get these tables pulled up. We'll talk through some of the decisions a little bit more in depth. So I like how the tables are currently. So we'll keep them now there. And continue. All right, so let's, so I'm basically targeting some draws with those bet sizes with the jack. They did lead. Could definitely have a 4 in the range. Gonna fold. A backdoor flush does get there. A 4 is in their range. And gonna go ahead and get rid of that one. And okay, of course, also the pair that we have isn't the best pair in the world as well, but it looked like they kind of donked like for value there. You know, so we're just going to get out of it. So that's one of the river decisions that we're trying to think through and not instinctively just calling there with the pair of 10s. Just thinking through that line of just a quick donk on the river screams like the missed opportunity, like thinking I might check back in a sense, and I think that's more like a value donk. But that's one of the spots we're going to try to deviate from instead of making these snap calls there. So let's go ahead and now, since we have our table set up, we will go in depth through these decision points and give you our current thought process on all these spots here. We're looking at lots of stats as well as going through the nodes as well. So this is a wide player that limped. I'm gonna bet a larger size just because if they call, you know, we'll have a strong hand, and since they're wide-ish players, they will call those spots a little more often. If you noticed, I did a 10 BB open. That's just going to be my standard size against limps. I could put some stronger hands in that region of that sizing, and also some bluffs in that hand as well. I just try to keep the same size just to make it consistent. Here, I have no showdown value. We're just gonna bet small and bet big on the river as a bluff. Sometimes when you bet small on the turn, it takes it down as well. But here we have a gut shot. I'm gonna call. Here I'm gonna check the ace king. We do have some backdoor. We have a pair on the end, nothing crazy, but we will check and see if that pair does beat some ace high. Sometimes not with that bet, we're just gonna fold, get out of there. But sometimes a pair will beat some ace highs. They get, All right, so here we have, I'm just gonna check the ace king. So we do have some showdown value with checking the ace king on the river, as you can see. Not ideal, but we're gonna call actually on the button with king jack offsuit. Sometimes the call makes a chain reaction call through the blinds. In this case, it does as well. A 3-bet is also a valid option as well, but on the button we can have some of those calls, and in the blinds, just gonna king jack here. We're gonna call and evaluate some turns, and so they both check. The 2 flush draws and straight draw comes in. What we're gonna do is I'm just gonna bet big. Saying I have a really strong hand. I like to have a queen kicker, but against these opponents, we will still bet. Front door flush does come in, and this pair. I mean, they could have a 5 as well, but the front door flush comes in, and they do bet a large amount. So we're just gonna get rid of that hand here, and move on. Here we have a raise from under the gun. I want to isolate this player since they're wide. You can see we're going to do the 10 BB size as well. And I'm not auto loading here on this one for some reason. I'm only at 100 bigs, should be at 150, but it is what it is. Hopefully we'll go back to the 150. There we go. All right, so they do check. I'm in the middle here. I'm just gonna bet small. So I'm gonna check and just see if I can get some information from this player they check. We do pick up a pair. I'm gonna bet small. Yeah, I'm gonna bet large on the river. I don't pick up any additional equity. Here we do gut shot. I'm gonna bet small. You have some showdown value. Gonna lose to jacks and 9s and 5s. Here I have to bluff this. I have no showdown value with the 10, so we have to bluff that one. We took that one down. So we're just gonna go through here and go through some recent thoughts in the system. I'm not gonna make this video too long. Of course, I say that. It always turns out to be a long video, but we'll get to a good stopping point. Just wanna go through some of these decisions here. So I opened, he 4x'd over the top, and he went over the top as well. It's the easy fold, don't call this hand. But I will look at the showdown to see what these players are playing to help me in the future. Jacks is reasonable, 10-2, okay. They are wide, but now they're just probably gonna jam. I would call with ace high, but I can't call with jack 2. They're gonna jam over the top. And here, it's weird 3.3 sizings. We're just gonna call on the button. Again, gonna call, hopefully get a chain reaction, but isolating as well. 3-betting is probably better choice, but given the button, here we have an ace high and a backdoor flush draw. It's a small bet. We're gonna call, and we'll see what our opponent does there. Okay, so they do check. Interesting. I'm gonna check. I have ace high as showdown. I check ace high, possibly wins sometimes. Now they bet a little bit, kind of saying that they have a jack or 10 with this sizing. I'm gonna fold, find a better spot. Here, king 8. I'm gonna open any 2 from the button. All right, and I probably should have checked the stats first, but Doug Polk, in a video that he made a while ago, he mentioned that when he was teaching his live players multiple years ago, he just said just open anything from the button. And some of those like strategies on some YouTube videos, when I go through watching some play and explains, I take away like key strategy points I can implement in my routine, and that's one of them there. He just open any 2 from the button. Not always, but also depends on the people and the blinds. But it is what it is. But king, it's also a king high, a king blocker. But don't want to do that all the time, but every now and then it's okay. So this is the wide player. I want to isolate this player, and we will do that. I isolate like 8 to 10 BBs, but mostly 10 BBs. A nice polarized isolation bet. When they do go over the top, they have to do a large, they do a 3x size. Here I'm going to play a pot from the blinds. Here, I'm going to check this player's stats. They're kind of wide. I'm going to fold because my 10 BB bet was kind of polarized in a way, and they just said, I don't really care, and get a 3x over the top, three bigs. So they have a pretty strong hand. We're just going to get it. My goal of that hand was to, I'm going to fold this one. It was to isolate against this player as well. So, and when they probably didn't notice that, me trying to do that, so that can be an incentive for them to raise over the top. Or they could just have a good hand. But either way, my goal of that 10 BB hand was to isolate that player, not necessarily play against the player over the top. That is possible. I think if I would have did an 8x, 8 BB bet, I'm still looking around the same 3x price, 24, 20 to 30 range. So either way, it's the same idea. It's like king 10 for that size, maybe king queen suited, but that's still like a hand that's speculative as well. From the button, we can call, especially against a short stack player. And let's see what they do. So they bet small. Ace high, I'm going to call with ace high. Since it's a short stack player and they're very wide, and see if they check. If they check, they still bet kind of small. If a king comes, I'm gonna bluff this hand here. Now this I'm just gonna bet big with my value hand. So they did kind of size up a little bit, so we'll give them credit for that one. I want to size up. I even could have went like 18, 19 with this size up, but if I have a strong hand, I want to build a pot. Here I'm going to set mine with the 8s. I want to build a pot, especially now I can, I'm definitely going to bet this since it's a 3-bet pot. I can lead. I have leads in this for this board. We do have the 8s. I'm going to check to the players that open the action. Person raise, so they're kind of like saying that they can raise a flush draw, they can raise 2 pair, they can raise a set, but they could raise a flush draw as well. So they have that option as well. Here I'm just going to get rid of the king here. This player raised the flop and they continue betting big on the turn. I'm going to believe the story and get rid of the top pair there, especially since the draw did come in and multiple draws with the straight draw and the flush draw coming in. That's something that I need to continue to work on, is the folding in those spots, those under bluff lines. As you can saw, we got out of a spot there with ace king with a strong top pair, top kicker, but Ace high, we can check back on this situation. Could bet or check, bet small or check back. You know, ace high is fine to check back in that spot. And, you know, there you can bet small, whatever. Both options are available. This person now bets big, so most likely they have an ace or some type of draw. Some draws to get there. I think I had to call one bet here. Flush draw does come in. Now they are, let's see what we want to do. So they kind of bet small. Flush draw does come in. They're not very there. I'm gonna fold this one. They bet big on the turn, big on the river. A draw does complete. On the turn, a draw completed as well. Straight draw did complete. I don't even have the best ace X as well. There's multiple categories of hands that we lose to. And so we're just, then that size on the river actually did look like a value size as well, rather than a bluff. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about that I need to improve upon, is like looking at those situations. It's not just calling quickly because you have an ace, like with the ace king as well. It's more like just like really, just look at the situation and think through if it's an under bluffed or over bluffed spot. Because these stakes, these players are going to under bluff for the most part. And if you overfold to under bluffed lines, you will exploit fold them against them and you can save money, versus the alternative of what I've been doing. You just snap calling, oh yeah, I have ace high, ace king, a set on a straight board or a flush board. It's like, yeah, I have a strong hand, let's just call. But that's something I'm trying to avoid over this next sample size that we play for the next 2 weeks, and hopefully the A game continues to be strong. But here we have lots of checks here. I'm just gonna, I have no showdown value basically. I'm just gonna bet small, act like I have an ace kind of thing. Betting small, of course they could have checked an ace on the flop. That's possible, of course. But now they're leading, kind of thinking I might be folding, or they're betting the size of their draw as well. I think we're gonna get out of that one. Gonna open the ace king here. I don't like queen jack ever. I hate this hand, so I'm not gonna try to be tricky with it. I like ace jack suited, of course, is fine, but I'm gonna set mine here. Try to get a small price. Sometimes again we get a chain of continues on some of these calls, but if we're just gonna see if we can get a small pot. And unfortunately, this opponent does not let that happen. It's okay. We'll move on. We cannot call this size to set mine. The pot is 38. I call. It's not the right odds on that one, so we'll just get out of that one. But we really just need to think through the spots better. Make these quick decisions, and we'll get back up to the next stake, and hopefully have better success there. And also just actively thinking through these spots now, getting more reps, thinking through these river decisions and these lines, if they're under bluffed, that kind of thing. And basically there's two things I look for on the river now. Like in the the ace king hand we just looked at, ace king, top pair, top kicker. But when the opponent, of course I bet small on the flop, but when they raise like a min raise small, they could have when they raise, they're saying basically I can beat a king, or I will beat a king like with a draw. So they're saying like two pair, a set, a flush draw. or straight draw, that kind of thing. And so when the turn comes and one of those completing cards, completes, and they do continue that store at a large size, we're just gonna get out of there. If I had an ace of hearts, or like a higher, like that kind of backdoor draw on the turn, we could consider definitely calling that because of the odds, but that was also a large heart. So that's the kind of thing, is not holding on. Like if I would have called the turn and like a snap call, like not thinking through it, I would have just punted those blinds to that person, and when they go eventually all in on the river, and my investment on the turn and the flop call just get, the red line just goes down because all the money that we lost without seeing a showdown. So we want to avoid those spots and kind of think through the future where we can avoid those spots where they don't happen. So that's what we're going to be focusing on for the next 2 weeks, is really ranging our opponents, ranging their lines, or like trying to decide if they're it's under bluffed or over bluffed. And if we have a bluff catcher, we have to go through the logic of their stats, their lines. This person will call if I call. So here we have a 7. I'm just going to check. Sometimes whenever a person goes all in, it just goes check down to the river, just because we're just kind of just playing against this person, and we most likely we're not going to lose this pot, but we have a possibility. So so it was King 8 here. Here we're going to raise this hand. I have some great backdoor draws, straight draws, flush draws, and a pair as well. So we're just going to raise this. I like my equity on this hand. On the turn here, so we have a call and a raise, going to fold. On the turn, we don't really pick up any equity here, but it's a wide player, so I don't want to really bluff a wide player. I'm going to check since I didn't pick up any extra equity and see what size that they bet. So we have no more draws. 5 is really, I'm going to give up, check fold on that one. When they call a large size, they really like their hand. Even though they're wide, they really like their hand. And they also showed aggression on the turn, which means they filter their hand to even a stronger hand. And I didn't pick up any additional equity on the turn. On the turn, if I picked up an extra flush draw or another, like a open-ended or like a double gutter on the turn, I would definitely continue my line and evaluate the river, But on the river, and this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about in previous spots where I didn't kind of see the future, or I had an idea, like when you see your hand, like what your equity is, like what eventually if your hand's going to hit or not, but like really thinking through not only your hand but the actions of your opponent. So on that hand, assuming let's say we had picked up some additional equity on the turn, given the board dynamics, I would either polarize or bet. Most likely polarize the turn on like those hands, but and then on the river, of course we could hit our hand and go all in or bet small for value, or we could possibly we can bet small as a bluff. So we have some opportunities on the river. So here we have a backdoor flush draw and an ace high, so we can call that size bet. And we'll see what our opponent does. I also want to make sure my timing, not giving anything away on these turn sizes. This is that same opponent that we played at, and I raised. So I'm just going to raise them again, just because I'm like playing that dynamic. I think I raised them a little bit too high, but that's more like a psychological raise. I just played the exact same person a moment ago, and I raised. And then they might think if I raise again, I might just be trying to mess with them, And I had 2 pair there, but and also your 2 pair is a little vulnerable, especially if it's not top 2. But whatever. That's kind of the logic on that hand. And here we have a raise. We have another raise on top. This hand we just want to fold. We don't want to call this hand. This is if it's ace jack even suited, given this action, we might even just get rid of that hand. The ranges these people are playing are very tight, especially on the raise sizes, because they under raise pre-flop, and then when they do raise, their hand is very strong, or very, very filtered to the top end of their range. I don't want to give these people good prices, and I want to attack this person's range, so I'm just gonna get this guy pot committed with this size, or at least show this person I'm getting them pot committed. And he might jam, or if he, I think, okay, I didn't give him good odds. All right. Here, we are just gonna bet small and call, I think, 8. So on this board in my range, given that action, no matter like what my cards are, I'm gonna bet that size. So even though with a short stack player, they are probably more weighted to those those hands like that, but I'm gonna see if I can get a chain reaction of calls with this hand. I would have to bet like 24 to 30 BBs to isolate. I mean, this is a decent hand, I guess, a drawing hand. This hand actually doesn't even hit my range, but I'm gonna bet small just because you can really do whatever you want on the flop. And I want to play against this player. This is the wide player, and okay, so 2 snap calls. Okay, so they could have a 10x. They could have some draws. They could have a worse 2 pair. I don't think they would have a set. We're just gonna bet the size our hand kind of wants. This is an Uri Peleg strategy where it's like, just think about the pot and what size the pot your hand wants. And this hand can play a 2/3 size. We can't play an all-in size now because of this straight card hits. And of course they're gonna call with these types of hands. Yeah, the obvious hands to get there. This is a situation where, and also I'm just gonna fold. Unfortunately, it's not an ideal river for us, and I wouldn't even value bet that river as well. I would just check that river behind. So we put them on the range that we kind of were betting on the flop, betting small. Of course, we said draws will call a flop bet. On the turn, we're gonna polarize our hand a little bit. And on the river, when the draw does get there, unfortunately, we have to either check that one back and of course fold to a large size bet like that. I'm just gonna complete the 4 or 5. I'm just gonna play a pot with this player. I just want to play my equity. I think in these small pots, I'm very good at these small pots with my equity and their ranges, versus the large pots where I just punt everything away. But I love playing these small limped pots, just true equity and some cool bluff opportunities. Here, I'm gonna raise this just because I have some strong backdoors. And here's a situation where, unlike earlier, we didn't pick up any equity on the hand. This is the kind of what we wanted to pick up, a flush draw and a straight draw on the turn. So we're gonna now just polarize on the turn. I could probably even bet a little bit bigger on the turn, actually, but this is a good polarize for their stack size. And I'll call an all in if they go all in. So yeah, that was pretty cool that we can see the same type of node, just given a different card. So that one card just changes the strategy. And on every single street, And every single decision, your strategy needs to update given the new information. And that is, and of course that was a limp pot as well, so the ranges are very wide at that point. So pretty cool opportunity to see both those scenarios. So that's what I like doing here when I'm going through these hands and going through these decisions. I'm going to actually open. I'm going to call from the button. I need to definitely expand my 3-bet range as well. I've been under 3-betting and 4-betting, so that's why I'm kind of put some of these more marginal hands, because I think I can play well post flop. This is a large size. We're just gonna fold, and now we're just gonna play our equity. So we got 2 callers. It's a pretty large pot. I'm gonna bet small on this board. I'm gonna bet. Okay, he kind of bet. I guess they really like their hand, huh? So it's a pretty large bet. Just gonna focus all my attention on this hand. It's a pretty large bet. A half pot size bet. Do I have half pot equity? This is where you get in trouble with these hands. Oh, it's half a stack. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's half a stack. He probably doesn't even have a pair. Okay, did have a pair, but we had some outs. Yeah. All right. We had some good backdoor outs on the flop. He was a short stack coming into the pot as well, so maybe the call on the flop is the call on the flop is actually bad. So we got to see a real-time bad decision. So we get to balance out some of those good plays. But see some plays like that. I mean. So I had backdoor at ace high backdoors, flush draw backdoor, short stack player. So I was probably gonna bet similar to that sizing on the flop. I know that's like not a good logical like decision point, but I was probably gonna bet around like 15 big. So it's like, oh, I was thinking, oh, that's over like the this is probably like bad logic, but we're gonna raise this one with the ace blocker just immediately, and we're just gonna bluff all the way down. But yeah, I was thinking that I'm gonna bet like 15 bigs on the flop. We can call with some backdoors. Now this is another situation. This is we're just gonna fold this one though. Yeah, we're gonna fold that one. You can't make the same mistake twice, and they're probably like thinking, yeah, call this one like you called the last one. So sometimes that dynamic does happen when you have a showdown and like a player like this. It's like watching what's going on. It's like they are keen to that kind of thing. But I think I wanted to attack that spot though on the flop, just because I had that ace of hearts card, which you can do some fun things with that on the turn in the river. And also, like, we're making a video here, so it's kind of fun to put some raises in. But going back to the ace-9, and that's probably one of those punt spots where it might be close, like on the flop, even to like continuation bet. But anyway, we were in the moment to call that one. We probably had, maybe we had like 20% equity. So we had our backdoor draws and our ace high to a pair. Yeah. So sometimes when you open those hands pre-flop, you have to get in some interesting spots on the river. Whereas if you be more of a solid pre-flop range, maybe I can put in those spots, but so it's interesting. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up here. This is pretty interesting hands that we've seen here. So we're just gonna play to the blinds. So we'll do one more hand at this table here. Let's see who we want to attack. This guy here, we're gonna attack, and we're just gonna bet 10 bigs just to polarize that we're playing for something here. I'm just gonna jam this hand, make them make a bad decision. If I run into aces, okay, but we're just gonna bet small. And we're gonna open ace-9 offsuit. Okay, we'll play the button here on this hand. Here, I bet small on the flop, and they did call. I'm just gonna check, and they could bluff some busted flush draws, but not for that size on this board. I think they think I'm gonna check back, so we're gonna fold. It's a pretty strong size for a lead, but it's okay. All right, so here with ace-9 to pair, we are going to my hand can play a larger pot, so I'm gonna bet. That's like an Uri Peleg strategy. It's like, look at their size, look at the size of the pot, and just bet the size your hand wants to play. I think my hand wants to play like a half pot size bet to jam a river. Okay, so yeah, I can't raise that. We'll just close this. Got to the button here. Wrap that video up, or that table up. About to wrap the video up in a second. So we're just gonna play to the button, and I will just play to the blinds on this hand and just call it quits. But yeah, good update video. Got to see some interesting spots. So the dynamic that we said earlier in the video, where we have a strong A-game stretch or so, and then we just make some interesting punts. Like, for example, the ace-9 hand earlier in the session, that's a punt. I was just trying to be a little, and also it's a video, so I'm like trying to play some hands. But here we're gonna just check and see if we can get all the money in by the end of the hand here. So that was a good check, because this gave this person an opportunity to bet, and then they'll call. So I'm gonna call, and now we have quads. So most likely what's gonna happen is we're gonna check, they're gonna go all in, and they're going to call. I'm gonna call, and on the river, we'll just put the rest of the money in. And here, I'm just gonna I don't want to call too fast. I just want to like act like it's a tough decision. So maybe this guy would like bluff his stack on the river. And here I am just going to go all in. I'm gonna wait till like the final second to give like some psychological like thought, like, oh man, this is gonna be scary. And then he'll just snap call or tank. And I think I have to go on with quads. I have the best hand. So yeah, I just want to maximize in that spot for the remaining money. Like the other alternative is like betting a small like 10 BB bet, but I guess it could be a good decision as well to do that, because you want to get value with quads. But I think in the long run, the flushes will call, other hands will call, so I'm just targeting like the top portion of the range with that bet. And given the action, like all the calls, like he could have been on a flush draw, picked up at the back door, so whatever. Didn't get as much value, but that was the thought process. At least we can see an interesting hand to wrap up the video. Close to wrap up the video. Got one more hand. But yeah, so make sure you check out some of the other videos if you're still made it to this point, and you can see the whole evolution of the thought process and kind of go through the journey. And if you see any spots on any previous videos where if there's any situations where it's an obvious error, just comment if you don't mind, and I can just look and see what your thoughts are and give you my thoughts and have a dialogue. But also have the Discord where I have the other like detail of the blog from all the decision strategy changes along the way up until this point, and all the decisions. And so it's kind of like a more in-depth approach. You can check that out. I'll put that in one of the comments on the video. And give another video in about 2 weeks and just to give a process update. So we'll call it quits after this hand. And we have a wide play. We're just gonna do a polarized 3-bet on the flop, pre-flop here. And just look at some of the timings and who calls, like check out their stats. This is a tightish player. And just see we'll just like evaluate the hand, like decision point by decision point. I can bet small. This is like my board. I do have a pair, but at this point, I'm just gonna bet my whole range small on this board. I don't wanna give away too many timing tails, so I'm just gonna take my time. I'm gonna have that same pacing this whole hand. Okay, well, I don't have to worry about that, but as you can see, we were thinking about the next steps and the next steps before the process even started. So, yep, this is the graph. Hopefully we'll be at the next check-in point somewhere around here or closer to this point. But you got to see some interesting hands, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.